Look, layoff is not easy and it's really rough actually, and I have been through layoffs myself. So in today's video, I do wanted to share my experience on a very strategic way for me to get back onto job hunting and get hired as a software developer again during this really difficult recession time. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Vicky May. I am a software developer in New York City, and I know, the economy isn't doing so well. As we all know that I created a bunch of videos about how do you get a job? Is AI actually taking over? There's just so many speculations around, are we ever gonna find a job during this recession? Well, let's just talk about that today, shall we? Let's talk about how do we actually manage to find a job during this recession. If I am unfortunately getting laid off, what are some of the things that I can do to help me to make myself stand out while I'm looking for jobs? Okay, before we talked about all these tips in the video about layoffs, about getting a job in the recession, before all of that, I want you to unpack the factors and the reasons behind why there's so many layoffs recently or in the past couple months, or even just this year and last year and all of that. So during the pandemic, there's a huge hiring in tech because the customer behaviors are more focusing on e-commerce, relying on the internet to be able to run businesses, to be able to purchase stuff, to be able to find entertainment online. And because of all that behavioral changes, a lot of the tech companies did not get impacted by the pandemic. They actually get to perform really well. So they've been hiring a lot during the pandemic and post-pandemic. In 2020, during the pandemic, there was a few layoffs in tech, but majority of the problem wasn't during the pandemic or post-pandemic, but is in between now and last year. The reason for that is because a lot of these tech companies were over-hiring in the past 2 years, and now because everyone started to get back to normal and they start going out, they start going on trips, and they spend less time on shopping online or doing activities online, you started to see that there aren't projected the same amount of growth like it was before, and therefore a lot of the tech companies started to rethink their budget, and worse, they even start thinking about cutting costs and making all those rough decisions on laying off a lot of their employees. The tip number one is you gotta know yourself. So I want you to picture that your career goal is somewhere around here, and the path to your career goal are kind of like a treasury hunt, which means you gotta look for clues. And all those clues are actually within yourself. So knowing yourself is really important because then you know your strengths, your weaknesses, and what are some of the opportunities and threats around you. Therefore, you'll be able to properly prepare yourself amongst all these competitions. In business, there's this term called SWOT analysis, and SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And this theory is to be able to look at your business at a different angle and write down all these things that could help you to kind of position your business in a better position among all your competitors. So this is a very similar idea for also kind of positioning yourself in the job market. Okay, so let's look into strength first. I want you to think to yourself, and probably it will be helpful if you have a piece of paper and kind of ask yourself with the following questions. Question number one is, in what areas do I perform highly? Question number two is, what are your natural skills? Question number three is, what skills have I honored over time? For example, these skills could be either a technical skills, a particular programming language, or even just teamwork or communication skills, presentation skills, things like that. Or just even your ability to turn coffee into code. That, trust me, it is a skill indeed. Number 2 is witnesses. I know when we talked about witnesses, a lot of times people try to avoid it because they know that, oh, this might be something that it's terrible, I probably don't want to mention to anybody. But I also think it's really important to just know about your weaknesses so then you can better position yourself according to your strengths. And here are some of the questions I think you should kind of ask yourself. Either pause this video and kind of write all of these down, or maybe revisit this video in the future and really think through this. Question number 1, what work-related habits is holding you back? Number 2, are there any areas in that other candidates that might outperform you? Number 3, have you ever received any feedbacks that are telling you that potential areas that you should improve? Number 3 is opportunities. Opportunities is great because that could be something that you might not realize in the future, but this could be something that it might be trendy and you might be able to just supercharge your skills, and which would lead you to be more appealing to the hiring managers in this market. So one of the interesting things that lately I've been talking with my friends is AI taking over the world, and a lot of my perspective is that I don't think AI is taking over the world. However, I do think that people who know how to use AI to help them to save time, to finish a lot of the repetitive tasks that they don't want to do, could be leveraged in the situation. Meaning that, if you know how to leverage AI, you probably could potentially get better than other people who just try to avoid using AI. That's kind of like the reasons why it's important to think of opportunities that are around you. So here are some of the questions that you definitely should ask yourself. Question number 1 is, what are the job outlooks when comparing industries? Number 2, are there need areas like artificial intelligence or security that will be hiring regardless of the economy? Question number 3, is this a good time financially to further my education and pick up some useful skills in my industry? If so, can I do it for free? Now, these are opportunity related questions. I want you to kind of like think this through, and obviously you can expand these questions and kind of unpack into more details according to what your answers are. So just having those things that written in a note and like really think through, the pros and cons and your strengths and weaknesses would help you to kind of like identify what are some of the opportunities that you should go for, especially in this recession. The next and the last thing is you gotta be aware of your threats. And I'm not saying that, you need to be super scared about threats. No, I think it's just same as weaknesses. If you are aware of your weaknesses and you're aware of your threats, that means you are so much more prepared for whatever that is about to come. So being able to like think through the threats would help you to kind of talked and looked into ways to improve yourself so then you can't be threatened by all these potential emerging new technologies that might replace you. So questions that you can ask yourself is, number 1, what industries are showing the largest restrictions? Number 2, what is the biggest threat to my goal of getting hired in the recession? Number 3 is, what will happen to me, my family, if it takes longer than average to find a job? Now, those are the things that you can kind of like either use it to remind yourself or use it to kind of like serves it as a motivation to help you to be more consistent on practicing on interviews and prepping for interviews. Now, knowing what you already know, the next steps that you wanted to do is to improve yourself, to improve your skills. In the face of slow hiring in the tech industry, there's gonna be a lot of people who are looking for jobs, and being able to stand out is extremely important. So one way that you can stand out is by improving your skills, by upskilling through either practices, through educations, or anything that can help you to kind of make you stand apart from other candidates who are applying for the same job. So a lot of of these improving your skills are focusing on either taking a course, working on a personal project that you're passionate about, or engaging in a lot of the coding challenges. And one of the thing that I mentioned, I think in a lot of my previous video, is doing algorithms and data structures and studying for design systems and how do you tackle those problems during your technical interviews. And I think that, being able to identify your weaknesses from your SWOT analysis could potentially focus on improving yourself in those areas. So one of my, weaknesses in my own SWOT analysis is that I know that I'm not good at design system problems. And therefore, I've been looking for books that could help me to get better at design systems, and there's courses that I can take to help me to get familiar with all those interview problems. And I think those are important because then you're really putting efforts into improving the things that you know that you are not so good at. So therefore you can potentially stand out more comparing to the other people who are not aware of their situations. Alright, so after you upskill yourself, let's talk about the next important thing, which is networking. Majority of the software engineers actually successfully landed their job through referral. So that means it's really important for you to expand your networking opportunities. And either you can do this online or you could do this through person. A lot of times I would say it's very effective if you can do it online. And one of the most important things that you have to be able to do is enhance your social presence. You need at least a LinkedIn profile, and you wanted to just quickly update your LinkedIn profile to open to work, and that will send the recruiters alert knowing to reach out to you because you're open to new job opportunities. And a lot of times also it's important to talk to your friends or talk to your ex-colleagues to see if they have any opportunities in their current company. If they're working at a job that they seem happy with and you are interested in that company as well, definitely shoot them a message to tell them that you would like to see if they can hook you up with a recruiter at the company to see if there's any potential opportunities that their company might offer. Just something quick and simple and a short message to introduce yourself and kind of just to quickly get the recruiter some understanding of what your expertise is and your past experiences are and why you are the perfect candidate for that position would be great. It can be very concise and you wanted to keep it authentic, so just make sure that you make it short and make it stand out and make it down to something that's easy and simple for them to understand who you are and what you stand for and why your value fits with the company's value and why you think that the position would be great for you. All of these opportunities are great to be connecting with people online. Obviously, it's also great if you can meet people in person. If you live somewhere in a big city, I would say look for opportunities like meetups and hackathons and tech conferences to go to just to get a better idea of connecting with people and chatting with people and see if you can build a better connections with other people in the major cities that you live in. If you live in a smaller cities and there aren't that many opportunities to meet in person, I still encourage you to travel to other places nearby to attend, meetups and chat about, tech opportunities that might potentially help you to get introduced to some recruiters, and that could give you that interview opportunities as well. Okay, let's dive into the next part, which is freelancing opportunities. When it comes down to bills and just responsibilities, it's hard to say that, you can just look for the perfect job forever. You kind of have to pick up some money along the way. And not everyone can score the biggest tech companies within a very short amount of time. If you are currently taking up the servants deal and you are going through layoffs, it is not a bad idea to start thinking about freelancing for about 3 to 6 months, because a lot of times freelancing opportunities can enrich your resume. Besides, giving you the money to pay for your bills, freelancing also shines on your resume, especially during the employment gaps that you have between jobs and jobs. That shows the employers that you are proactively looking for opportunities and projects. Plus, it is a real-world experience that kind of adds more values to your resume than a passionate personal project. But obviously, if you are going down to freelancing, a lot of it is that you are not this middleman. There's no middleman. You are directly dealing with clients. And that could be challenging and that could be scary because that's not just your coding skills, but that's all about, your communications, your self-presentation skills, your marketing skills, and all of that. It's more of a business savvy type of job. And a lot of times, when you're talking to clients, they don't necessarily understanding tech like the way that people who works at a tech companies would know. So there would be challenges for you to explain to your clients about what is the MVP or what is a particular programming language that you're coding in. However, there are a few tips that I can give you to get started if you are still interested and consider freelancing. You can go into freelancing in a bunch of different ways. There are plenty of third-party services like Fiverr and Upwork that connects the freelancers with the client. So that way, even though the sites are taking up a fee, but you are not taking too much time to look for clients or do a lot of marketings. Another option is probably looking in your own neighborhood and look for businesses that they might need little improvements on their applications, or even just considering doing a bunch of consulting through your previous company or companies that your friends work at. Now, I've already talked through a lot of different ways to help you to position yourself so that you can stand out amongst all these people who are looking for the same job. So now I want to talk about how do you exactly improve your credibility on paper. This is extremely important because a lot of times you gotta just brush up some of your resumes and your projects and your past experiences so then you can be more appealing to the hiring manager or to the next job opportunities that you might pick up on. So let's dive into some of the credibility improvements on your paper. Here are 5 things that you can do to help you to brush up that credibility. Number 1 is brushing up your resume. Give your resume a little bit of refresh on the most updated technologies that you've had experience with and basically update all of the relevant skills that you had in your previous job. This is pretty standard and I think that everyone should refresh their resumes from time to time. I would say even, every few months you should kind of refresh your resume a little bit so then you are updated with your skill sets and everything on paper. Number 2 is trying to rearrange your portfolio and build it up to make it more impressive. A portfolio is quite important. I wouldn't say it's super important in terms of mid or senior levels of developers, but I think that having an impressive portfolio can make you just more stand out among other people. So if you want to kind of go through all these other projects that you were passionate about and you kind of took some time on the side to work on them and make sure that you brush those projects up a little bit nicer and try to present them on your portfolio. That way you have some sort of proof about your work besides just your work experience. Number 3 is the references that's from your previous coworkers. A lot of times people don't think this is important, but I think that, making a good connections with your ex-coworkers, your colleagues are important because a lot of times they are the people who can vouch for you to say that you are a good worker, you are somebody who would be pretty nice to work with. So being able to have 2 or 3 people that can write you either a recommendation on LinkedIn or just like give you a good referral in the future would be pretty nice. Number 4 is your LinkedIn. I don't want to say that one more time, but LinkedIn is quite important. Don't underestimate it. The odds of interviewing without a LinkedIn versus with LinkedIn profile is substantial. Make sure that you have a LinkedIn profile because every single employers will look at your LinkedIn profile, will check you out. And if you don't have a nice photo on LinkedIn, just use AI, because one of my friends uses an AI app to create a really nice and professional photo for her LinkedIn profile, and it works really well. I think that you don't have to necessarily make the perfect, most professional profile on LinkedIn, but at least you need to have your actual face on LinkedIn so then people know that you're not a spam and you're reliable. And that also contributed to how you can build up your credibility, is to have some sort of social presence as well. Number 5 is GitHub page. So I don't want it to be one of those people to say like GitHub pages are important, because they aren't necessarily that important. A lot of developers uses other repository softwares like GitLab and other softwares to organize their repositories. I don't think that was the issue. I think the issue is if you do have a GitHub or if you use this GitLab, that's cool, but make it organized. Organize your repositories, create a clean README for your projects, and showcases of your communication skills on paper. Like, how do you write technical documentation? So those are good examples of how you could communicate technically to somebody via showing off your GitHub, GitLab repository and pages, because in a way that let the hiring manager see that how articulate you are. Looking for jobs was never easy, and I hope that this video gives you some ideas on how you could position yourself better and how could you leverage the ideas to help you to improve yourself, so then you can get more chances of interviews and get more chances of landing that dream jobs that you want. I have a lot of different videos that are in this channel in terms of interview techniques and also career tips, and as well as data structures and algorithm related study guides. If you are interested in those type of videos, make sure to check out them over here, and I wish you the best of luck. Until next time, I will talk to you soon. I hope that you can find that dream job soon. So, peace.